There is no distinction between life and death here. People spend 1/4 of their lives living with the deceased, and more money is spent on the dead than on the living. Customs handed down for generations have become rooted in the culture. Today, I am heading for a place where sorrow can be forgotten. To encounter a once-in-a-lifetime beautiful moment. And hear about the joys of everyday life unfolding along the bountiful scenes of a waterway. Indonesians call their homeland Tanah Air. Tanah means land, and air means water. I am on my way to Bantimurung National Park near Makassar to observe various lives created by water. I am now nearing the end of my journey in Sulawesi. There's something I've realized through this trip. It is that life can sometimes be more beautiful than any natural mystery. Even though life may feel mediocre from the inside, it becomes a piece of art when perceived from the outside.
마치 동화의 나라 같은데 정말 한 폭의 수채화 같습니다.
Could it be because of the rainbow I was lucky enough to see just before taking off? I have a good feeling about the encounters that await. Bantimurung, which lies some 40 kilometers away from Makassar, is one of the top leisure destinations for Sulawesi people. The reason people come here is none other than for these great waters. There is no better holiday for those who live in the tropics. Everyone is enjoying the water.
저기 폭포 밑에 지금 보십시오. 지금 사람들이 지금 신이 났습니다.
The biggest highlight here is riding the rapids. You get on a rubber tube and fearlessly give yourself up to the waterway. It is a natural water park. From up here, you can see that it is no easy ride. It looks exciting. Just watching makes me feel refreshed to the core. Many also visit from afar to enjoy the unique charms of these rapids, which are unlike those of the sea. I just couldn't pass up a chance to have my own bit of fun. I'm about to join the young people who are enjoying themselves under the waterfall. The closer I get, the more excited I become. This is unlike any place on Earth. It is a whole new world. This national park is called Bantimurung, which means a place that gets rid of sorrow. What's going on? A snake is hanging off the tip of a branch. Everyone is captivated as it attempts to move to a different spot. Bantimurung National Park is originally famous for its butterflies, which is why you can find various specimens in the souvenir shops here. Suddenly, I'm curious where they caught all these butterflies. It's illegal to catch butterflies in a national park. However, you can also easily find them outside the park, since the butterflies aren't kept locked up. Just then, I come upon a boy who has been catching butterflies at the park entrance. His swift hand movements prove that he's no novice.
Biasanya satu hari tangkap kupu-kupu berapa? Ada 20, 30. Wah.
The boy seems to know where to find the butterflies and skillfully leads me deep into the forest. His target appears out of nowhere. The boy is dressed in red and carries a red net because butterflies are attracted by the color. Silently, he swiftly snatches one up. He is careful not to cause any damage taking it out, since he'll be selling it to be mounted.
Saya nggak tahu, tapi ini cuma kupu-kupu kecil.
Immediately, he snares another. His catches are quite unique, as there are more than 150 rare butterfly species in Bantimurung, unseen elsewhere.
와, 이건 상당히 크네요, 나비가.
Ini kupu-kupu namanya apa? Namanya pelitis. Pelitis? Ini namanya pelitis? Iya. Kenapa pelitis? Karena itu warna putih.
I wonder what the boy is planning to do once he sells the butterflies.
Saya beli baju sekolah. Dasi, topi, tas, sama sepatu. Ranking berapa? Dalam kelas? Ranking 2. Ranking 2?
이 아이가요, 반에서 항상 1, 2등을 놓치지 않는다고 합니다.
This 11-year-old boy is already mature.
호랑이 무늬같이 생겼네요.
I am slightly worried that the butterfly population will decrease due to the boy's skillfulness. I decide to follow the boy home while I'm at it. The chickens seem to recognize their owner. They gather around just as he arrives. It is their feeding time. The child feeds them every day when he gets home from school.
집에 지금 아무도 안 계신 것 같은데요. 알리스 kenapa tidak ada orang tuanya?
Karena ada acara keluarga, kawin, ada orang kawin kan. Sepupu.
Kalau gitu kita baru sama ke sana,
Saya nggak mau, saya mau belajar.
전교 1등은 역시 와, 공부밖에 모릅니다.
He is a smart and eloquent speaker. I've decided to follow the child's directions to find the wedding venue myself. Suddenly, I encounter a group of people running.
이렇게 해서 지금 10km를 뛴다고 합니다. 10km. 저 갑자기 만났는데 저 지금 같이 지금 가자고 합니다.
It turns out that they are in the Indonesian military, and they run 10 kilometers around Bantimurung every day. It is hard work running with the soldiers, but before I know it, I have arrived at the wedding hall. There isn't a separate wedding hall. Instead, the wedding is held at the bride's house. First, I'll go meet the bride and groom. The bridegroom is carefully reading the wedding vows. It tells him that he must be faithful and take care of his wife. But the bride, whom I'm most curious to see, does not show her face.
Baru isinya balik nih, berhadapan, kemudian jabat tangan, kemudian menyerahkan itu maharnya dengan mas kawin. Nah begitu, setelah itu turun di pelatinan.
This means the wedding will only begin after he has paid the dowry. The groom's family is the one to offer the money, since the woman will be a valuable worker.
Lewat orang tua. Nggak kenal itu baru kawin. Lewat orang tuanya, orang tua sama orang tua.
It's their first time to see the person they will be sharing the rest of their life with. The bride is shy and can't look the groom in the eye. I wonder what is going through the couple's minds at this moment. The ring is placed on the bride's finger, and with this, they have been joined as man and wife. Now the bride and groom present themselves to the guests for the first time. Whether from nervousness or awkwardness, the couple looks quite serious. The guests look on as if to say that they've all been there and know how it feels. It's amusing for the onlookers, but the awkwardness is unbearable for the couple. Out of decorum, they can't show interest in one another. I also offer my congratulations to the couple.
신부가 되게 수줍어하네. 아빠 지금 신부께서 너무 수줍어하셔서 지금 좀 얼굴 보시니까 기뻐하시는 것 같은데 말을 지금 못 하시네요. 마음이 지금 상당히 지금 얼굴에 많이 난 걸로 봐서 지금 되게 긴장하는 것 같습니다. 신부께서.
You can't put it against her for being nervous, as it's the most important day of her life.
Punya anaknya berapa, Pak? Mau berapa?
Nggak tahu, tergantung. Bukan dari Tuhan.
After the ceremony, the two head for the groom's house. Usually, the wedding lasts for 2 to 3 days, going back and forth between the bride and groom's homes. The bridesmaids accompany them on this trip. The bride is making her way to the house in which she'll be spending the rest of her life. At the groom's home, his relatives welcome their new family member. Here, they must complete another important ceremony. It is the offering of gifts from the bride's side.
Sekali, sehingga tetap budaya kita pertahankan karena menyangkut hubungan sesama keluarga. Ya, supaya tetap damai.
The wedding gifts consist of fabrics for the groom's family, as well as cookies and cakes that are only available on rare occasions. They may be from a different land, but their wedding shares many similarities to a traditional Korean wedding. I suppose it is the same for most societies that have an agricultural background. The bride and groom look exhausted from the long ceremony, being shuttled back and forth to each side of the family.
신부와 신랑을 보니 약간 지친 것 같은데 그래도 이렇게 이렇게 힘들게 결혼식을 한 것만큼 행복했으면 좋겠습니다.
This will probably be the most beautiful, shining time of the couple's lives. I'm now headed for Lake Tempe, which is my final destination for this trip. This is where the Walanai River and the Chanduranai River converge. One river flows inland and the other to the sea. I have to board a boat at Sengkang, the river city, to reach Lake Tempe.
Ini aliran dari Danau Tempe menuju ke aliran pembuangan menuju Sungai Cendranai, Bone sampai ke laut.
With the help of a fisherman, I find myself on the lake. It takes about 30 minutes to Lake Tempe from here.
이제 강 오기가 점점 더 넓어지는데 아마 댐프에 우리도 지금 진입하고 있는 지금 지역입니다.
From this point on, there are no houses around. All that fills the view are waters like the open sea, the sky, and fishing boats. One peculiar type of boat catches my eye. An umbrella-like fishing rod has been attached to the tip of the boat, and a net hangs from its ends. It's a traditional fishing technique called jabak.
Tengah pagi Pak. Halo, sekarang tangkap ikan apa Pak? Kapunya.
Jenis tongkangnya dikasih turun, ada netnya, terus ditunggu beberapa saat baru diangkat. Jadi begitu prosesnya, tak pakai umpan.
Thanks to the fishing rod, which fans out like umbrella ribs, you can cast the net over a large area all by yourself. The rainy season has just passed, and the water level is high, so fish are scarce. However, the catch looks bountiful.
Teman dari dulunya sudah ada di sini, jadi dari dulunya sejak nenek moyang yang dulu, ini merupakan sumber mata pencaharian yang paling utama. Danau Tempe ini merupakan sumber utama penghasilan masyarakat Wajo, terutama masyarakat pesisir Danau Tempe, dan merupakan tolak ukur.
Lake Tempe has one of the highest freshwater fish outputs in Indonesia. There are approximately 100 households here.
이게 그러니까 집 전체가 마치 보트배 같은데. 할로 이보. 거의 막 집 도구들이 거의 웬만한 거 다 있을 건 있습니다. 열어봐도 될까요?
The only difference between a floating house and a house on land is that the kitchen has a brazier instead of a gas stove, and there are many basins to store the fish. You have to go outside to realize you're on a lake. One inconvenience is having to boil the lake water for drinking.
masak apa sekarang? Mau masak apa?
Bakar ikan.
There isn't much of a variety to eat, since it's hard to reach the village market. But there are plenty of fish from the lake.
헬로, 아기가 지금 되게 수줍어하는데 헬로. 아이고 아이고 지금.
Although the children can't play on land, I can't sense any discomfort in their lives on the lake. These fishermen have mastered their trade over generations.
Masuk di sini dan tidak bisa keluar. Kalau mau diambil dibuka ini.
물고기가 이제 집인지 알고 위로 들어온답니다. 근데 물고기가 나오지는 못하는 거죠. 이렇게 집어넣으면 손이 좀 나오기가 힘드네요. 여기가 또 가시 부분이 이렇게 돼 있어가지고 끝에가 물고기가 나오기가 힘듭니다. 들어가기는 쉬워도 ikan mau sukanya masuk ke sini Pak. Kenapa?
Tidak tahu juga kenapa ikan suka masuk di sini. Mungkin masuk di sini biasanya main-main.
이 안으로 어떻게 물고기가 들어가지? 여기가 통로가 좁아가지고.
I don't understand why the fish go in without any bait. So I'm going along to see how this fishing technique actually works. The fish traps have been planted near the waterweed. The lake can reach 5 meters in deeper areas, so they pull up really close. At one of the pole indicators, he dives under and retrieves a fish trap. He's having a hard time retrieving one because the water seems to be deeper than expected.
여기 좀 겁이 납니다. 들어가기.
This time he doesn't surface for quite a while. Just as I'm starting to get worried, he comes up to the surface. It must be a large catch, because he has brightened considerably. Lo and behold, there is quite a lot of fish.
와, 물고기 한 마리 들어있습니다. 이게 바로 캄보자 물고기입니다. 캄보자 물고기인데 여기 댐베우스에서 가장 많이 나는 민물 생선이고 힘이.
It's a type of tilapia.
하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 10마리나 들어있습니다. 10마리. 그러니까 처음에 봤을 때 설마 이러한 두구 안에 물고기가 들어갈까 생각을 했는데 실제 보니까 꽤 많이 들어갑니다.
People say fish have a memory that lasts for 3 seconds. They must keep forgetting that this is a trap. This spot is shallower, so I've decided to help him out.
우와, 되게 큽니다, 진짜. 우와.
I must have foresight because this one contains the largest of the catch.
Cambodia, 바구.
Perhaps I have some maritime Buginese blood in me too.
Bugis.
Itu di bawah-bawah rumput itu makan. Nanti kenyang baru keluar lagi main di sini.
Oh, begitu.
Iya.
I am elated over our abundant catch. When the catch is big, they go straight to the middleman instead of heading home. This is where they dry the fish and sell them at a market. Considering all the fish, I hope our host makes a lot of money. He gets $6 for 30 fish.
50.000. Wah, ditambah lagi sedikit. 50.000. Ya. Itu.
There is some haggling, but today's earnings aren't bad. With this, the day in the lake comes to an end. This is a simple yet rich place. It is a place with just the right amount of happiness. Not too much, not too little. We come upon a group of 3 or 4 boats.
Halo, Pak. Bapak sekarang lagi apa, Pak? lagi apa?
Ya, lagi apa nambe?
이게 바로 새우 먹입니다, 이게. 새우를 잡기 위한 미끼인데.
Nyuk.
Ya?
Nyuk. Apa? Makan udang ini, Pak, bulat ini.
nanti udang makan begini.
Iya, bulat ini. Kecil sekali, kayak lidi saja anunya, kecilnya.
지금 바늘에 낚시 바늘에 끼워가지고 지금 호수 밑에 넣어놨는데 새우 미끼로 사용한다고 합니다.
While we are deep in conversation about the fishing technique, more boats start to arrive one after the other. They've sunk the shrimp bait to the bottom of the lake and are now waiting. Perhaps because of our camera, they're asking the youngest fisherman to sing a song. He is the star singer of the town. The little boy sings nothing other than the national anthem.
예전에 네덜란드로부터 350년 동안 지배를 받았는데 그 네덜란드로부터 독립을 하면서 그 피 흘리면서 힘들게 싸운 그 청년들의 그런 깊은 그런 의미를 담고 있는 노래입니다. Lama apakah mencintai bangsa Indonesia?
Ya.
Banyak. Berapa? Berapa banyak?
Banyak-banyak. Sepenuh hati.
Sepenuh hati.
Karena Indonesia kebanggaan saya. Putri sejati, putri Indonesia, sungguh besar cita-citanya bagi Indonesia.
It has been a middle-of-the-night late concert. When the song ends, the young men all start to wind tape on their fingers. I wonder how catching shrimp can be dangerous. A moment later, I see for myself. With one hand on the fishing line, they use the other hand to snatch them up. Considering the speed of the boat, the hand holding the line is in grave danger of getting cut. Because they race at a high speed, they occasionally get injured from the hooks if they don't stay focused. Through numerous injuries and experience, the fishermen here live in harmony with the lake. The young men look much more lighthearted as they leave. The next day, I leave the lake and head back for Sengkang. The rainy season has just passed, which is why the town is submerged underwater like a flooded area.
지금 댐페 호수의 물이 강 쪽으로 범람해서 지금 강 근처에 있는 집들이 지금 거의 다 잠겨 있습니다. 이야.
It may look like the floating houses on the lake, but this used to be a front yard with livestock and flower beds. Once the water starts to recede in July, cars will be on the road and things will return to normal.
Oh, so a people live here.
It looks worse inside. Fortunately, the items they often use have been moved to the second floor. I'm assuming it would be uncomfortable living like this for 6 months during the rainy season. People get used to discomfort when it is repeated every year. Once you start complaining, you become unhappy. Instead, the people here are using the flood the best way they can. Perhaps the reason they seem carefree is because they are content with reality.
Very good.
The Sulawesi people, whom we met, resemble their sea. They have a ceaseless and energetic vitality. The island we found at the end of the ocean contains a massive fire. But behind the bleakness, it hides an abundance of life. Time immemorial still remains in the primitive forest. The traditional practices, which have been passed on for generations, have enriched their culture. In this place, where there is no border between life and death, people live each day like eternity. That is why life on the equator is still full of passion today.